How to send your aches and pains packing by working with your body without worrying about having side effects. To fix pain, I recommend focusing on the cause rather than battling a symptom. For example, if you have a sliver in your finger, you can use a box of Band-Aids to cover that sliver, but the pain stops faster if you take the sliver out and allow the body to heal. Agreed? How can you get the pain to stop? Well, the first step is you have to learn to listen to what the pain is actually trying to tell you. And a lot of times, especially in today's society, people get so busy, they get so focused on what they're doing, they get so focused on their responsibilities, they get so wrapped up in their situations that even if the body is screaming in pain, it is habit to push through or take something to make the pain stop, but addressing the cause is usually put on the back burner, which gets us into trouble. I know, because I was there in 2009. In 2009, I was having physical pain that couldn't be diagnosed. I was taking bottles of medication just to try to stop the pain. I was 10 out of 10 stressed. Everything seemed to be collapsing. Exhaustion was at a 10 out of 10. Anxiety and panic was at about 100 out of 10. I wouldn't want to go back to 2009 for anything. At that time, my uncle, who's in the picture with me there, he was actually diagnosed with lung cancer. It was a short journey, but a very intense journey. When you go through that much grief and heartache and you're not taking care of yourself, there's sometimes consequences for that. So after he passed away, I collapsed. I was in bed for 4 months. I could not get out of bed. And I had been sick long before that. I had been neglecting myself for probably a decade. I was a single mom of 2 kids. So, I mean, we're busy trying to get to activities. Back then we were eating fast food, not getting the proper rest, not exercising, just kind of grinding through the day, trying to get through everything. I tried plenty of things to try to feel better. Like, this isn't even the whole list of it. I was too busy being busy to calm down long enough to figure out actually what was going on. And back then, medication still worked. I eventually got to the point where medication didn't work anymore. It's a very frustrating place to be when you are feeling like you're trying everything and there isn't an explanation and you're living with chronic pain. I empathize for anyone in that situation right now. So after I had tried everything, I was at work one day and one of my coworkers had recommended a reflexology treatment. I had been on a girls' trip probably a year or 2 before that, had a wonderful foot massage on a beach. I didn't know what reflexology was. And so I went to check it out. Now, what I didn't know back then was reflexes are sensitive when there is an imbalance in the body. I didn't know if you fix the cause of an imbalance, it can help the body restore balance naturally. And I didn't know that mental, emotional, and physical imbalances can show up in reflexes throughout the body. No clue, because I had no clue what it was. I was from the school that if you had an ache and pain, you took a pill and carried on, right? So that was a little bit out of my wheelhouse. When I did go for my reflexology session, I didn't really know what to expect. I hopped up on the table, you're fully clothed, I had a blanket on. He started working on my feet and it felt a little bit tender because I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know that you can apply normal pressure and it feels intense if there's an imbalance throughout the body. Going through that session, I learned something really powerful. My feet were tender in some certain spots that were common with things that people do on the daily. And so what I had done is he had asked me a few questions and I couldn't figure out how he would know that stuff because I didn't tell him. And I went and I did what he suggested. Pain went away. It was interesting. And so I remember this, well, it wasn't this chart, but it was a chart like it on his wall. And I got really curious about how certain things correspond throughout the body, because when my uncle was in the hospital and he was sick, what had happened was it came to a point near the end of his life where you couldn't touch this part of his hand and you couldn't touch that part of his feet. And it was just too sensitive to touch. So I had a reflexology session booked. I went and I had asked the therapist, what's in this area? What's in that area for reflexes? And he said, well, the lung. I didn't tell him that my uncle's hands were sore or feet were sore. It's just that was the reflex that corresponded to the lung. And I found it fascinating. And so, the only reflexes that I knew about is if you went to the doctor, they tapped your knee and your knee would move, right? If you have nerve pain, they run a sharp object along the bottom of your feet to see if you can feel it. But outside of that, I had no idea how reflexes had corresponded to all the parts of the body. So being sick, I got curious about it and I wanted to know what I could do because nothing seemed to be working. So the way reflexology works is there's reflexes in your hands, feet, face, and ears that correspond to every part, gland, and organ of your body. So if you press on them, it encourages the body to restore normal function. You see, back in the day when we were cavemen, we weren't born with shoes. So we would go and we would walk on the ground, and that would usually stimulate the reflexes, and so that everything was constantly being worked. Well, we don't do that no more, right? A few might, but for the most part, we're all wearing socks and shoes, and we're not stimulating the bottoms of the reflexes, and so those reflexes aren't getting stimulated the way that they were designed to, and those messages aren't going from the reflexes to all the parts. And so when a reflexology therapist works on those areas, what happens is that circulation is believed to increase. And when the circulation is increased, it helps the reflexes send the messages back to those body parts. When it comes to doing reflexology, if people think I've got a problem with the foot, so I'm going to go for foot reflexology, or I have a problem with my hands, so I'm going to go for hand reflexology, or I'm having a problem with my ears, I'm going to go for ear reflexology. That's not the way it works. There are reflexes in all parts that correspond to all parts. For example, if you have a problem with your hand, we can still work it in the foot and ear. If you have a problem with your ear, we still can work it in the hand and foot. It's just that most people are more comfortable getting treated in the area where the pain is because that's what they're used to. In reality, we can get it from all the different areas that have reflexes. So what's the cause of sensitive reflexes? Usually there's 3 causes of stress in the body: physical, nutritional, or emotional. When I found reflexology, physical stress was point and key because I was having excruciating side pain. I was having chest pains. My heart was beating a million miles an hour. It felt like a lot of it was just physical stress because I was going and going and going, didn't have the right posture. I wasn't exercising properly. And it was, you just push and push and push until your body forces you to stop. And that's when usually people start looking for answers. Before that, they push pain until pain pushes back. Now, nutritional stress can be caused by a few different things. And this isn't the full list, but the majority of it falls in under diet, hydration, and pain management. Now, when it comes to diet, there's 7.8 billion people on the planet. I don't believe there's a cookie cutter answer for everyone. It is everyone's job to figure out how your body responds to different things and to do what feels best. So if you follow something and you're feeling good, fantastic. If you're doing something and you're feeling crappy, I would probably look for an alternate solution and work with the experts until you figure it out. Now, emotional stress, this was the hardest thing for me to conquer. And emotional stress can come from so many different things. I mean, it's in relationships, self-image, that little voice in your head that's constantly nattering everything that you don't like about yourself, or that you think you done wrong, or woulda, coulda, shoulda, or what if. It's exhausting if you give it any length of time in your to work between your ears. Your home, finances, career, environment, social media, those things can all be an emotional stressor. And that's not it. There are so many things that cause emotional stress. When I was going through this, it took me to a point where I had to understand that the body remembers what the head forgets. And until I was able to detect a memory from when I was 8, detect the emotions tied to that memory and release them, I suffered with severe anxiety and debilitating panic attacks. But the moment it was released, I never had another panic attack, and that was all the way back in 2012. So it's important to pay attention to what the triggers are trying to tell you. And a lot of times, if you have an anxiety or a panic attack, it seems like it's coming out of the blue. Like, it seems like there's no rhyme or reason to it, but it makes perfect sense when you can see what your subconscious mind is trying to remember. And in the emotional state, if you can trace it back to what areas of your life it's connected to, it's easier to find the solutions. I often say I never found reflexology, it found me, because I didn't have a clue what it was. And it was one thing led to the other. And now today, I am so grateful it showed up, because I was able to help my body restore naturally. And I'm not suffering with the pain that I thought was going to be with me until the bitter end. I have a unique opportunity for you if it's something that you wish to participate in. I am offering a 5-day self-reflexology challenge. What's that? What I'm going to do is every day for 5 days, I'm going to send you a short little video where you can work on some specific reflexes in the comfort of your own home. And you can do that every day for 5 days, just to give you some downtime, some moments to relax, and to actually start to understand what reflexology is. Now, obviously, this isn't like having a real session, because the mission is to help you go into parasympathetic mode, which is rest and repair. And you can't really work and relax at the same time now, can you? But it will give you a little bit of an idea of what it feels like. So if you are interested in getting those 5 videos, what I encourage you to do is just let me know, yes or no, and then you are going to have to provide me with your email address so that I can send it to you, and then you're going to find those in your inbox. Sound good?